President of the Middle East Strategic Research Centre here in Ankara and an Associate Professor of International Relations at the TOBB University of Economics and Technology. In what is a simple yes or no vote, this is a win for the President, but by the slimmest of margins. How will that affect the way he runs this country going forward? And will he be disappointed by that result?
Well, I don't think he was, because especially his speech also demonstrated he's very realistic and pragmatic when it comes to analyzing the popular trends and analyzing the results. He mentioned that initially the support for the particular project was about 25-30%, but now there is more than 50% vote. This is a major accomplishment. He believes it was thanks to the efforts he put throughout the process.
Well, let's just talk about that, because he said, yes, there was a relatively small base to begin with for this project. And this project, by the way, is some 15 years in the making, effectively. He was Prime Minister before he was President, formed the party back in 2002, and this has been on his books, as it were, for some time now. But given the coup in Turkey back in July, when his popularity was running sky high, as it were, many people would say, how has he not been able to consolidate that support? This has been a period of a state of emergency. Many journalists have been incarcerated. Many others have been either lost their jobs, fired, or put in jail as well. Surely this should have been a moment that if ever he was going to win this with a big majority, it would have been now. So what happened?
It happened so because Turkey still has functioning democratic institutions. Okay, maybe there were limitations on the ability of certain parties to campaign, but at the end of the day,
so the No campaign had no chance.
They had chances. They had their TV appearances, they had their ads, they had their meetings in rallies in big cities, small cities throughout the country. So people were able to hear all kinds of arguments, both yes and no side. So I think it did affect, and in Turkey we should keep in mind that political cleavages are so strong, especially between right and left. They are very strong, and although there was a moment of national unity, when it comes to making a real political decision, people did go with their own political instincts.
We heard the President ask his allies, his friends around the world, to accept this vote and to get on with things. That will be quite difficult given his rhetoric during this campaign. He accused some European leaders of Nazism, of fascism, in the way that they dealt with Turkey and this referendum. I mean, how's he going to deal with Europe and the US and others going forward?
Actually, he mentioned in the same phrase as when he spoke about the domestic audiences. So both domestically and internationally, he says, now let's look forward, let's look more pragmatic and project-oriented and discuss how we can rebuild Turkey based on this new legitimate mandate.
So what happens tomorrow? So what happens tomorrow?
Tomorrow, probably the big project will be to start working on laws that will be passed from the parliament, so that the system is transits from the prime minister oriented to president oriented executive system. This is important because right now many important institutions, functions are attached to the office of the prime minister or deputy prime ministers. Now we should envisage ways in which the executive powers, including all the institutions, will be transferred to the office of the president. I think the big project will be about it.
Is supporters said that this referendum, these constitutional changes, are important to secure Turkey both internally and externally. And let's agree that this has not been a country of stability and security over the past few years. Will it be going forward? Is this referendum really going to make the difference?
Well, I think it will make a difference. I mean, especially what the president again mentioned in the same speech, the vote that came from eastern and southeastern Turkey, where mostly Kurdish populated cities exist. So it is important because since 2015, especially even before the coup, there was a new approach to anti-terror operations and the issue of the Kurdish question. The support shows that the argument put forward by the government and the president has been bought by the people. So I think he will approach this issue in terms of the internal unity, territorial integrity, and fighting terrorism with that legitimate mandate from the people.
With that, we're going to leave it there. We thank you very much indeed
Thank you.
for joining us.